Welcome to Ask Your Academic. Today's session will cover the MSc Biotechnology, the MSc Biotechnology and Management, MSc Chemical Biology and the MSc Stem Cell Engineering for Regenerative Medicine. We've got a massive panel today, which is great, full panel. So we'll do our best to answer all the questions that you have about the various programmes. And if you've got any questions as we go through the session, please feel free to use the chat box and we'll do our best to answer those questions too. If you've got any questions that are sort of specific to funding, accommodation, things like that, I'll put some helpful links into the chat box for you. And we've also got an online, excuse me, postgraduate event coming up on the 7th of May. And there'll be various sessions covering those topics there. And we are recording this session, so don't panic. We will share that with you in the next few days that you can watch back anything that you might have missed. So Cheryl, would you like to kick off and introduce yourself and your programme?
Hey, thanks, Naomi. So hi, everyone. Thanks for coming to the meeting or watching it back online. That's all great. So my name is Cheryl Woolhead. I'm Professor of Molecular Biotechnology here at the University of Glasgow. I'm the Dean for Postgraduate Teaching, and I'm also here to represent the Biotechnology and Management MSc program. Okay, so I'll pass to Brian. Maybe you're next on the screen.
Hi, I'm Brian Smith, and I'm a senior lecturer specialising in biomolecular NMR, and I'm here representing the Chemical Biology MSc programme, which we run jointly with chemistry.
Hi, my name's Catherine Berry, and I'm a researcher at Glasgow, and I run the MSc for Stem Cell Engineering for Regenerative Medicine. So we work with stem cells and other tissues, including cancer cell biology, to work alongside to develop 3D systems for looking at stem cell technologies. Thank you.
Lauren.
Hi, I'm Lauren Headland. I'm the Deputy Programme Coordinator for the MSc Biotechnology programme. I'm a lecturer in the School of Molecular Biosciences, and my background is generally in plant science.
Thank you. Now we all know each other. So can you tell us a bit about how the sort of programmes tend to work over the course of the different semesters? So we're always asked, how often should I expect to be on campus? I know that's quite a difficult question to answer.
I start with a basic background and then other people can comment about specific intricacies of their programs. Okay, so we an MSc at Glasgow is a full-time 12-month program, which means you should be expected to be available for teaching for the full 12 months of the year. We start in September. We run 3 semesters, so September through to December, and then January through till April, and then May through till the end of August. So within that time, you have 2 semesters of teaching and 1 semester of research project. So the first semester, you'll be doing 60 credits of taught courses. The second semester, another 60 credit of taught courses. And then that third summer semester is again 60 credits, but this time it will be your research project. So you'll have short gaps there across the Christmas period in December, and then across the Easter period in April before the start of the third semester. So for any particular program, that 60 credits is broken down into smaller subsets of courses, which tend to be 20 or 10 credit courses. And within those particular courses, it can really depend on what you're doing. You might have 1 week where you will be expected to be at lectures, and another week when you will be expected to be in labs. And the timing on your timetable can change quite considerably for that. So you may only have a few lectures a day if you're doing purely sort of a didactic lecture teaching in that week. But then in the lab, you may be expected to be in from 9 to 5 every day of the week, because you'll be in the lab doing actual practical skills. Now, if you're in the lectures, that doesn't mean that the only time you need to work is that 1 lecture, because what you're expected to do is a significant amount of independent study around the lecture to either prepare for the lecture, review the content of the lecture, and then think how that you would apply that content of the lecture going forward. So different types of delivery of teaching will need different sort of hours of outside commitment to the actual lecture that you're doing. So there's not really a defined timetable, is what I'm saying, of what you would be expected to be available for every week. But even if it's not contact time, you would be expected to be working around that. And so within each of those sort of smaller subsets of 10 and 20 lectures, you will also be expected to do assessments, and they can run throughout the entire semester. So it's not that you would just have a specific endpoint for exams. You would be expected to do sort of continuous learning and continuous assessment across the period of each semester. So for the biotechnology and management program, I'll just mention that first, and then we'll let everybody else chip in. For the semester one, you will be working with the business school. So you would be doing 6 10-credit courses across that time, and they will actually be run and delivered by the Adam Smith Business School here at the University of Glasgow. And then for the second semester, you'll be doing potentially 3 20-credit courses with us here in the College of Medical, Veterinary and Life Sciences. And there is a potential to switch out one of those 20 credits for optional courses or 2 10-credit courses, depending on which optional courses you take as you go along. And then for all of the different programs taught by here today, you will be doing a 60-credit independent research project at the end. Okay, so I've talked enough now. I'll let anybody else comment about their particular program. Brian, you maybe want to say something about the links with chemistry, and then Catherine maybe about the links with science.
So I can pick up on that. So one thing to mention is that all of these programs have some shared courses. So you're in a large cohort of students, and you'll get the opportunity to build relationships with people not only doing your own master's program, but also with the other programs that we're talking about today. So there's a great kind of cohort feeling, a good peer-to-peer relationship between people on the different programs that you get the chance to build up over that. For chemical biology, half of your courses come from the life sciences, the biology side of things, and that includes things like a molecular research skills course involving learning about PCR and techniques used in diagnostic DNA and RNA testing, but then you'll also do courses in chemistry. So for those of you who haven't got a strong foundation in organic chemistry synthesis, then there's the opportunity to refresh the skills and build those skills before you progress to the more advanced courses later in the year and onto your research project. And it's worth mentioning that 5 of our courses throughout the year contain a lab element to them, where you're getting to do quite advanced research techniques in them.
So just to follow on from Brian, so we're running the stem cell engineering course. So it's cross-college with the College of Science and Engineering, or COSI. So 2 of your courses, one in semester 1 and one in semester 2, are run by the engineering department, and the staff that run those courses are also involved in the projects in your 3rd semester. So you'll meet the staff in semester 1 and 2, and they'll be offering projects for selection along with the biology projects as well. And those 2 courses, one is scaffolds and tissues, and it's just to explain a bit about the 3D nature of tissues and how a cell is not in a planar environment, it's within 3D. And the other one is biophysics of cells and systems. So that's to teach you a little bit about the basics of biophysics, and it's nothing too technical. It just gives you a bit of an introduction to the theme of biophysics, so you have an understanding of the kind of mechanical environment the cell is in. As with Brian, we have semesters 1 and 2, and same as Cheryl, and we have 6 compulsory courses, or core courses we call them, and we have 2 optional courses. The optional ones are in semester 2. So once you've settled in and you've met everybody in semester 1, in semester 2 you can select 2 optional courses to run alongside a couple of core courses. And that is something that you could be interested in, for example, bioinformatics or next generation sequencing, or something that might interest you in general. We also have tumour microenvironment and things like that run alongside the stem cell work. And semester 3 is your research project. You'll all carry out a research project within Research Active Lab, all in the same building, hopefully in something that's interested you throughout the year. Thank you.
Thank you. And what about our biotechnology programme, Sean?
Lauren, do you want to start? Because Sean's just arrived.
Apologies, I've just arrived, so maybe I didn't hear the question.
Okay, Lauren's probably heard most of the question. You all right to just talk through the structure, Lauren?
Yes, yes. It's pretty similar to what Cheryl and Catherine have already covered. So with the biotechnology in semester 1, you will have 3 core courses, all of which have got very strong practical components to them. And then in semester 2, you will have 2 further core courses, again with strong practical elements, and 2 of the optional courses where you can choose depending on your interests. And in semester 3, we have our projects, and we kind of run 3 different types of projects to suit people's interests. So either ones where you'll be joining kind of a wet lab, so you'll be doing kind of experiments within a research group, or we also have a couple of different dry projects, so where you can do a systematic review of the literature, or also where you can focus on dry investigative, where you are looking at data analysis and analyzing some quite large data sets.
Thank you. And you've touched on a few things there that we had questions relating to. So I think one of the biggest ones was research projects. So how do students go about choosing a topic, choosing a supervisor? Is that the same for all, but different?
I think it's can be quite a little bit different for everybody, but we do get a lot of students who come into the university who have quite clear ideas about what they want to do when they arrive. And I think I would say, and I don't know if my colleagues will agree with me, is we actually encourage people to keep an open mind at the beginning of their program, because you might come in with a specific idea, but then you might learn something from us over the first 1.5 semesters that you really change your mind and want to do something a little bit different. So don't be too set on your ideas, be open to ideas, and think about the things that we're teaching you in the first semester, or say first and second semester, and then think about how you might want to apply that into your future career objectives, and then think about what projects you want to select based on that. So talk to the academics and discuss your ideas, and we'll give you as much guidance as we can about the ways to choose the best project for you. In terms of the way projects work, we tend to compile a list of the available projects and then send it out to students, and they can then sort of analyze that, make choices about what they would like to do, usually rank them about what they'll be their preferences, and we try and find the best fit for the projects, for the best fit for those particular students. So yeah, so just come with an open mind and think about what we're teaching you and what might be available. Don't know if anybody else wants to chip into that.
No, that's very much what we
Okay.
do as well. You meet the staff, sorry, as you go along. Each course should be taught by members of staff who offer projects. So you'll hear about what their research topics are, and you'll learn a bit more about them and what could be offered in semester 3. So I totally agree with Cheryl. Try not to come with a fixed idea of what you're interested in, because that will change. And that's the whole point in doing the 2 semesters. Find something that you're interested in, and then you'll have a list of projects available sort of midway through semester 2. That you can go and find out a little bit about, and then put your top 3 choices in, and almost everybody gets their top 1 or 2. Yeah.
Great. Brian, were you going to add something else in there as well, or?
It's very similar in our situation as well. Yeah.
Fit. And in terms of after graduation, what kind of jobs or other areas do graduates tend to go into?
I would say that it's all different types of things, and maybe there's some specific things that people want to comment on from particular programs, but I would say from being involved in the biotechnology program for feels like about 15 years now, and the biotechnology and management program, we have students who go into work in sort of pharmaceutical industry, yes, but it's not necessarily the sole destination for people. Some people will go on to do further study, if that's PhDs or maybe a different master's afterwards. Some people go on to work in sort of policy and regulation and government. Some people are working, as I said, with industry, and some people have gone on to work in things like academia and education. So, all sorts of different things, and we'll give you those opportunities to sort of hear about what other people have done through the course during the process of the time that you're here. We'll also sort of opportunities for careers development in terms of thinking about your CV and writing that and talking about interview technique. All of that is really provided through the graduate school and through the Graduate Skills Awards. So anybody coming would get opportunities to think about how they wanted to apply for things and different things they wanted to apply for. In addition, we have careers fairs where local companies or international companies are able to come, and you're able to talk to them about potential possibilities for routes after graduation. So I don't know if there's Catherine, Brian, Sean, Lauren, if there's any specific areas that you find a lot of your students have gone into, rather, or is it quite general?
We're a fairly young program, so we haven't had that many graduates so far. So there's not I can't give you a general pattern, but quite a high proportion of our graduates from chemical biology have gone on to further study, usually as a PhD student.
Okay.
Yes, we're very similar. A lot of students do go on to do PhDs in the area, but there's also, we do get a few dentists and medics that are already have a profession that are coming to learn a little bit more about perhaps tissue and cell engineering. So they tend to go back to their original professions, but with a renewed interest in research. So some of the dentists we have, for example, continue on to do research or are setting up programs back in their own institutions. So it's a bit of a mix, but it tends to be research. And I'd say about 30% tend to go on to do industry type jobs. Yeah.
Sean, anything you would like to add?
Just to agree with all of that. Then we have students who do PhDs, a lot of them, go on to work in industry, teaching, charities. Some go on to jobs in the NHS. Yeah.
Perfect.
That's us.
Thank you. And we've also been asked, what are the advantages of completing an accredited MSc? So the likes of the biotech programs in stem cell engineering are all accredited by, is it the Royal Society of Biology?
Yeah, actually, all the programs here today are accredited by the Royal Society of Biology. So that gives you, as a student on one of those programs, gives you a 3 years membership to the Royal Society of Biology. It gives you access to their networks and also any of the resources that they have available. So you can go onto the to their websites and have a look at the resources available for students on accredited programs and for members, student members. It might give you discounted access to meetings that they might be hosting or events that they might be involved in. So it's really actually a good opportunity to engage with the networks provided by the Royal Society. Also, an accredited program means that the program is held to a particular standard, and you would expect that coming to a program from Russell Group University, such as the University of Glasgow anyway. But that means that external people have come in and audited all the subject specific delivery that we provide here with these particular.
Oh, I think we've lost Cheryl there.
Probably pick up with where she was. So yes, as she was saying, the external accreditation means that it's not just University of Glasgow own standards that are ensuring that your courses are delivered to a high academic standard, internationally recognized standard, but also that we have that external oversight that will give you reassurance and also any future employer or academic institution that you're going to that the courses really were academically rigorous.
Thank you. That was seamless, Brian. And we've also been asked a question specific to the MSc Biotechnology, and that's, does it include any components related to statistics or programming?
So I can take that, I think. So we do have access to all students if they want to do that to go through a course themselves on using R for statistics and also presenting data and figures. And some of the optional courses we have, for instance, there's a next generation sequence analysis where they do a lot of using R to analyze next generation sequence data. I'm just trying to think whether there's any other courses that have that, but I think those are the main two options. There's an optional thing all students can run through, and definitely some of the option courses will have an element of programming and statistics for particular applications.
Great. I suppose it's worth mentioning that all our programme web pages have all of our courses linked there with further information, so that should be a good resource for that. And then we've also been asked, how can a student prepare for starting their MSc in September? Is there any recommended reading or anything you would recommend they do? Brian, do you want to start us off?
I'm happy to say that first. So I think the most important thing is to try and be well prepared in terms of getting yourself here with accommodation arranged in time for the start of the program. Some students in previous years have struggled to get here in time for the start of the program, and that's set them as a disadvantage. So an emphasis on being well organised, and sometimes if you're an international student dealing with the British Home Office, can be a little bit of a trial. So organise yourself well in advance. In terms of academic preparation, for our course in chemical biology, so these are all master's courses and they all assume a certain level of prior knowledge. But in our course, which is chemical biology, where we take students who come either from a chemistry or from a life sciences, biochemistry type of background, then you might need to refresh or update your knowledge in the subject that you haven't most recently specialized in, and we provide some resources in advance to allow you to do that, and that's strongly encouraged. The other thing to work on, I think, probably is if your English language skills are not the best in the world, then it will stand you in good stead to strengthen your English language skills before you come here. Practice some academic reading and writing in English, as well as conversational skills, because a lot of the assessment is in the form of written scientific English, and if your English skills are not so strong, then that can hamper your success, your chances of success.
Thank you. Catherine, what about stem cell? Oh, you're on mute. Catherine, you're on mute.
Sorry, I was just replying to a question in the chat box then. I think it was from a student, because I recognised the CV that's applied for stem cell engineering, if that's correct, that was just asking about funding for, I think it was for the PhD projects. I've just answered that. So what was the one that you were discussing then? Sorry, Naomi.
No, you're all right. It was just preparing for starting your
Yeah,
MSc.
preparing for starting. Totally agree with Brian. So in terms of getting yourself personally organised, so accommodation, getting your home office, everything organised in advance, because it tends to be sometimes for international students a rush and a bit of a stress to get organised. So the further advanced you can do that, the better, for sure. In terms of reading and things like that, people who are coming do tend to contact me directly, and we can give you, there's nothing you need to specifically do for the courses. Each course provides its own materials for that. But there are a couple of little things we can provide just to give a bit of background and a bit of stem cell work and a bit of microenvironment work, just so you feel like you've started reading something before you come, if you like. But again, that's just personal communication with myself.
Thank you. And what about our biotechnology programme, Sean?
So again, I'd repeat what Brian was said. Get your visa sorted out so that you can get here. Get registration with the university sorted out so that we know you're coming as well. Then in terms of just academic preparation, it'd be good to just sort of remind yourself of some basic molecular biology, maybe in the context of biotechnology. So for instance, there's a textbook called Molecular Biotechnology. Ooh, can I remember the authors? Glick and somebody or other. Glick and Pasternak. I've got it there in front of me. Glick and Pasternak. That might be a good, or just a book like that. You can probably pick up a secondhand, not quite the newest edition version for not too much money. The latest edition will probably set you back too much money. I wouldn't bother with that. But if you can get a cheap copy of that, read that. That would just sort of remind you of useful kinds of backgrounds, kinds of things we would just expect you to know when you come to the various courses. Yeah.
Thank you. And Cheryl, anything for biotech and management?
I hate to sound like a broken record, but just the same as what everybody else has said before. I would say probably good just to stay abreast of current affairs. And so, read the news, think about any sort of interesting aspects of biotech or any of these subjects that you're interested in, and sort of keep up to date with those. For the management side in particular, you're not expected, as Catherine said, you're not expected to have, an in-depth knowledge before you come here. That's what we're going to teach you when you arrive. So, work on your language skills a little bit, just as Brian noted, and obviously just be prepared to, get everything, all that other stuff out of the way before you arrive. So the visa, the accommodation, anything else you need to register with a doctor, all those different things you need to do at the beginning of term, and just come, ready to learn, and we will teach you what you need to know.
Thank you. Yeah, it's all those little things that take so long to sort, isn't it? And I suppose one of the questions that we've been asked quite a lot actually is, do students get access to the material they're going to get taught in class before class so that they've got an opportunity to read anything? I can see
Yes,
lots of nodding.
that's the University of Glasgow policy, is that we provide teaching materials in advance of any particular teaching event, so students have the opportunity to prepare themselves for that. So that's standard practice.
And to do that, they need to obviously go through registration process and get onto Moodle, which is our virtual learning environment. And once you're on there, you'll be the admin staff for the graduate school will make sure that you're enrolled on all the particular courses you need to do, and you'll be able to go in and have a look around and see what's available and what you can pick up in advance of attending lectures and classes.
Thank you. And I think probably time for one last question. What sort of assessments should students look forward to?
I think we pride ourselves on having a lot of different types of assessments. So as I said earlier, it's not going to be maybe like undergraduate degrees where you just wait till the end of the year and you have a whole bunch of exams. So certainly within what I'm familiar with, and please obviously jump in, friends and colleagues, if there's anything else, you'll be doing lab reports, you'll be doing essays, you'll be doing short answer questions, you'll be doing some presentations, you'll be doing some group work, all these different things that could potentially show us how you can learn in different ways. And we actually find that really useful because it's not just a reflection of what you can remember on the day, it's a reflection of what you've understood through the process of the learning experience at Glasgow. So lots of different types of assessment, chance for you to show your skills in many different ways. So you can actually show us, how you've learned and interpreted what we've told you. Anybody else want to comment?
Yeah, I can just reinforce that. So we try to emphasize a wide range of different assessment methods, and we try and make our assessments as authentic as possible. So we're trying to prepare you for a future career in which you use your skills that you've learned and knowledge that you've learned with us effectively, and that's likely to be in a research related environment or producing policy papers or whatever that is. And so the ability to summarize information that you've learned and produce authentic and accurate and interesting and critical, that's an important word in all our course descriptors that you'll see if you read them on the course catalogue. We want you to gain the skills that allow you to evaluate the stuff that you learn from us and from the literature and be able to make informed decisions and analyses of that.
Thank you. I can see lots of nodding, so that's good. Well, I think that's probably a good place to wrap up there. I don't know if before we go, is there anything that you feel we've not touched on that we should mention before we wrap up? Catherine?
There's just one question there asking about are lectures recorded, and that seems to vary across different colleges as well as different courses. So for example, within the medical, veterinary and life sciences, where most of us are based and you will graduate from, then quite a few of the lectures are recorded in courses. However, across college myself with engineering, they've stopped doing lecture recordings. So it does seem to vary slightly. Sometimes if you do need to access an older recording, if you're having trouble, for example, with the language or something, you can sometimes access an old recording from a year or two ago, which is still pretty relevant, and then top up the new information.
I would say that, yeah, that just so what Catherine said, that in most cases lectures will be recorded where that we have the ability to record a lecture. We're obviously quite an old university, and so we've retrofitted a lot of lecture recording devices into our lecture theatres. Where it's possible, we do try and do that, but it's maybe not always available. That's probably best.
It's worth mentioning that it's always if a student wishes to record a lecture that they're attending, then they're usually free to do that. They just need to mention it to the member of staff.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, yeah, we are now at the 1 o'clock mark. So thanks very much to our panel for your time. That was a lot of information shared. So hopefully that's been really helpful to all of our offer holders and future applicants. And yeah, we hope to see you all in September time. So thanks very much. Bye-bye.